It's 7 o'clock. Let's flip in the building. Hey, Money Elms, you ready? Let's go. Welcome to Elm Street, the hottest podcast. And all that cash and money Elms pockets, it look like thigh pads. He talking trending topics, he ain't no carbon copy. We talking sports, music, and fashion and other options to get us out the hood and keep that paper coming. And I smoke homes, not backwoods, I'm about to blaze an onion. These rappers flexing on the gram and they got fake cheddar. This intro was provided to you by Flip Mayweather. That right. Yeety, yeety. Money Elms, what's up? Yeah. Lil' Flip in the building. Screwed up clip. Welcome to Elm Street.
Yo, what's up? Welcome to Elm Street. It's your boy, your host, Money Elms. What is going on, man? We got the Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex, the Fort Worth takeover, man. We got a special guest in the house today, man. We got the one and only Smooth Vega.
What up, man? Yo, I'm excited to be here, bro. Like I told you, man, off the record, man. You had reached out to me, a few weeks ago about getting on the show.
Yeah.
I told you, man, I love what you're doing, man. I love the fact that you're telling the stories of that early 2000s era of, hip-hop in the area, specifically with the Latinos. So it's really dope to be here, man. I'm excited to cross the bridge from the funk and be out here in Dallas to rock with you, man. So let's get to it, man. Let's do this.
It's that Dallas-Fort Worth connection, man. Yeah, we're going to get it in, man. So check this out, man. I don't know if you've been keeping up with, as a matter of fact, you have. Because as a matter of fact, I seen it on your page when you posted it.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about Kendrick Lamar. So he just dropped a new album. And by the way, I was like, wow, it's good material.
Yeah, it's a dope album.
You know what I mean? I got to admit that was dope. It's fire. And it's good to hear Kendrick again.
Yeah.
He had a little gap right there where he just kind of just kept to himself, some family time. Plus, it was during COVID. So, it's good that he's back in the scene with a new album. But with that new album, there's that new music video that he got out, man.
Yeah, man.
Go ahead, man. Tell us a little bit about it.
He made the phone call. He said, yo, I'm going to pull up to the city, and that's a wrap. Nah, I'm just messing with you, dog. Yeah, he shot the new video in Fort Worth. I thought it was really dope. I think it's the N95 is the name of the record. They just put it out, and I think as soon as I saw the video, and I had started seeing people post about it,
yeah,
they're like, yo, he shot it at the Water Gardens, and okay, let me go check. And I was like, oh shit, it really was in the Water Gardens. And what was crazy is I happened to be downtown when the video came out, so I happened to be right by the Water Gardens, and me and Cap G were out eating downtown. I was like, dog, look, the fucking video was shot in downtown.
Wow.
He's like, word. He's like, yo, can you take me there? So I took him right there.
Yeah.
But I couldn't find out, man. He shot it at the Water Gardens, at the Botanic Gardens, and at the museum. And I shared it on my Facebook, because I had tweeted it out.
Uh-huh.
And some of the people that worked on the video actually put more context to it and said that video happened to be shot in August of 2020. And so, man, I thought it was a good look. I thought it was dope to, because Solange shot her video in Fort Worth, the same exact location in 2019, my bad.
Okay.
So to have Kendrick come to the city and do it, I just felt like it put a spotlight on our city. And, one thing about any city, it doesn't matter if it's Fort Worth, doesn't matter if it's Dallas, we take a great deal of pride where we're from. So anytime we can be represented on a big level and be attached to someone as great as Kendrick, it's a good look. You know what I'm saying? I always say Fort Worth is not a small city. It's technically by population the 12th biggest city in the United States. So to kind of get that look, I thought it was really dope, man. I thought it was fire, bro.
Hey, yeah. Definitely put a spotlight on Fort Worth. On top of the stuff that you're doing out there in Fort Worth.
Yeah.
But we're gonna say that for a little bit part of the show later on. So we're gonna go into to depth in that, but yeah, that was dope. Kendrick Lamar shot that music video, in Funky Town, man. That
Yeah,
was
man. And next time he go to the funk, he better check in though.
he's like,
you gotta check
hey.
in, yo. You gotta call somebody over there, man. We would have, but actually, if it was in August of 2020,
Yeah.
that means it was during COVID.
Oh yeah, it was
so
deep in COVID.
Yeah, so I was like, me and Cap were like trying to figure out, like, yo, there's no way he flew into DFW. He had to fly in to Meacham because Meacham is a private airport, and that takes you right to Fort Worth. So it's like, yo, he had a. I was like, yo, if he pulled up to Meacham, I live right up the block. Yo, he could have called me. Yo, I would have took it to the hood spots. You know, took it to go get some good old tacos right there. You know what I mean? So, Nah, it's dope though, man. I'm happy to see it, man. Happy to have the funk represented in any light, man. I think it's just cool to see an artist of the magnitude of Kendrick, especially right now. You know, he's at his peak. You know what I'm saying? Like an artist like that, that's not saturated, that doesn't come around often, comes out in his second music video, he brings it here. Man, that shit's fire, bro.
Yeah, most definitely. And you know, he's been out for a minute, so you know, it was good to hear some new Kendrick. And so hey, shout out to Kendrick and Funky Town for that video, man. That was definitely dope,
sure.
man. So we're gonna stay in the same entertainment. So Rihanna just had a baby. Her and ASAP Rocky just had a little baby boy.
I ain't never been so mad at Rocky in my life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Rihanna's a beautiful woman. I'm gonna say that first and foremost. That's dope, man. Congratulations to Rihanna. I cannot imagine Rihanna having an ugly baby. I have high expectations on this baby. I think it's gonna be a good looking kid.
Yeah.
Rihanna's a super talented woman, and salute to ASAP Rocky for having a baby with Rihanna.
Cuffing that right quick,
Oh,
right?
man, I ain't mad at him one bit.
And they kept it on the wraps because apparently she had the baby about a week ago, and it just surfaced up. You know, that squad just kind of kept it on the wraps. You know, everybody was, you know, code of silence. But yeah, that was dope. A couple celebrities reached out. I know Chris Brown. You know, he sent his love and, you know, congratulations. They were saying that they were waiting for to hear from Drake. You know what Drake would do, what was gonna say, but apparently he ain't said nothing yet.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know that I would. Chris Brown kind of owe it to her though. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
But you know, you know, salute to them. You know, what I mean, another beautiful, you know, life being brought into the world, and I don't blame her for keeping it under wraps. You know, once you get to that point in celebrity status, you know, like you gotta keep some stuff to yourself, man. Especially with paparazzi and
you know that family life. You gotta separate it. You know,
yeah, man.
You gotta protect it.
So yeah, that's that. But shout out to Rihanna, man. Shout out to ASAP Rocky. Congratulations on that, for real. You know.
Most definitely. We'll see if that baby boy turns out to be a rapper or R&B singer.
Yeah, or a model.
Right?
You know,
Yeah.
Definitely an actor at very least, you know?
Yeah, most definitely, man. So, so the Mavs, the Dallas Mavericks, man. So we made it to the Western Conference. Nobody thought we were going to be able to beat Phoenix, but we shocked them. You know, we shocked them. By the way, you're a sports fan?
Yeah, man. I mean, I grew up, like, I'm going to be honest with you. I grew up watching baseball, right? That was my first love in terms of sports. And then when Shaquille O'Neal got drafted into the NBA, that was it for me. I became an avid NBA fan. Shaquille O'Neal, Penny Hardaway, eventually Kobe Bryant. And when Kobe retired, I retired. Because right around the time he retired, you know, Dirk Nowitzki retired. So that whole era of basketball just kind of ended. And I haven't really been as much of a fan over the past few years, but of course I got a pulse on the game. You know what I mean? Like you still know it. I don't know a lot of the younger players, like, you know, as much as I should. But when, you know, Luka, you know, that's undeniable, bro. You know what I'm saying? You know, you seen the meme of Dirk holding up Luka like the Lion King. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, to me, it's just it's incredible to see the Mavericks be able to get you know, go from one generational player to another generational player.
Yeah.
So I really tuned into the series with the Phoenix, aka Luka's sons. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was cool, man. And I got reminded why I love the game, and so I'm rooting for them. I did watch the game the other day. I saw them lose game 1. I know they're gonna play a game, but man, that dude has the it factor of why I fell in love with the game. Like, he has that that like, yo, like everybody's tough whenever they're up. You know, that whole demeanor,
Yeah, of
that
course.
Mamba mentality, as I like to
Exactly.
call it.
That's
You know
exactly what I
what
just said the other day. I was like, you know, he has that. He's like, watch game 2. He's gonna come back. He's pissed off.
I'm saying?
You know,
He's gonna light him up.
yeah. The way I looked at the game, you know, he got beat up. You know, had that scratch going
Yeah.
across his face, and just at the way the game ended, he just looked at it. He just looked at his face, and he was like, "Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
I got something." You know,
Nah,
so
he's a killer, man. He's a killer.
yeah.
And so, look, here's the truth, man. I think they're gonna be Golden State. I'm not basing that off of anything other than Luka Doncic. You know, I mean, I see their squad. They got a squad. They got a good team. Jason Kidd, yo, I was a fan whenever he got drafted into the league. You know what I'm saying? Him, Grant Hill. You know what I'm saying? Like I remember that whole entire draft class. You know what I'm saying? I think with Jason Kidd, you know, being, you know, I've always felt he was a good player, a good floor general. So I think he's transitioned really well into coaching. He was with the Lakers. He was with the Nets. Now coming back to the Mavericks
Yeah.
and being part of the 2011 team. There's a certain sense of like culture that these guys are able to bring back to the franchise. And the fact that Dirk is still present, the fact that Mark Cuban's still present, the fact that a lot of the OGs that were part of the original 2011 team that won the title are still present,
Yeah.
I think it creates a sense of believability. Like, yo, this is very possible for them to do it. And I just think they want it right now. Don't get me wrong, Golden State is a tough team to beat. And Steph Curry is one of the greatest ball players of all time. I mean, that boy could shoot threes from half court with ease. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he just changed the whole entire game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, him and Clay, you know, the Splash Brothers, you know.
But Clay wasn't really even that effective in game 1 like that. Like,
No.
you know, he came in probably third quarter. He got his first set of buckets. But, like, I'm looking at it like, you know, Luka's gonna make him pay. I think the Mavericks are gonna win.
Yeah.
You know, I predicted they were gonna win in 5. You know, maybe 6. But I'm sticking to my prediction. I think they're gonna come in and they're gonna go hard, and then hopefully we see the Heat of the Celtics in the finals. And you know, I think the Mavericks have a really good shot of pulling it off this year.
You know what I would love to see? I would love to see that Dallas versus Miami.
It's all like
You know
deja
what I
vu,
mean?
baby.
Yeah, exactly.
Deja
It's
vu.
like that. There's that rivalry.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, that's why I was telling people. I was like, you know what? I don't like either teams. I was like, one, Miami. I don't like them because of the whole incident. Remember when they first went to the Western to the finals? Remember they lost to Miami,
Yeah.
and
With
then
Shaquille O'Neal.
and then they came.
FYI.
Then they came back. They came back and they won it.
And they slapped LeBron.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that. But see, this is the thing about it. Like, I feel that Luka Doncic is the best player in the NBA, in my opinion. I mean, people are gonna, you know, make the debate for Giannis and several other players in the league. But like in my opinion, this guy just has it. The game's changing.
Oh yeah.
You know, the game's changing. Like, don't get me wrong. I was never a big LeBron fan. As he's gotten older and deeper into his career, I've learned to appreciate him. He's a freak of nature. The guy's built like a bodybuilder, and you know he moves like a cat. You know, from one side of the court to the next side of the court. He's incredible. But like, I just never felt convinced that he had that Mamba mentality, that killer instinct. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That shit that Michael Jordan had, that DNA.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I feel Luka has that DNA. Like, Luka wants to be the best player on the court at all times. He believes it, and he proves it. And if he gets knocked down, he's going to come right back swinging at you the next time he gets in the ring with you. And I feel that a lot of players don't have that in them. Not to say LeBron doesn't have
of course.
a little bit of that in him. He definitely has some of that in it. But I see a lot of the like, I feel the league now is a lot softer than it was. You know, I was just having a conversation with my friend on the way over here. I was like, yo, man, the game has changed so much. I remember watching the game in the early 90s, especially whenever you used to watch the Bad Boy Pistons, man. Them boys used to knock your head off.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They would knock your head off, and you didn't feel like you won the game unless you were bruised and bumped up. You know what I'm saying? You didn't feel like you won the game unless they had a strong flagrant on you or not.
Yeah.
Now you get sneezed on and you get ejected and suspended for 2 games. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, they're like, hey, roll the footage.
yeah, it's like it's a whole different game. But I really hope that the Mavericks take it this year. I think it'd be great for the city.
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm a Cowboys fan. I love the Cowboys, but the Cowboys haven't been able to deliver that to the city. So if the Mavericks are able to do it, and you know, I think it'd be great. And me being a big fan of Mark Cuban, I think Mark Cuban is an amazing owner. He's a passionate owner. He's engaged. He's involved. It would be great to see him take another one, man, because I know a lot of people in the NBA probably don't like Mark Cuban.
I mean, not only is the owner, he's also like the #1 fan.
Absolutely.
You know, he loves them Navs as much as we do. So, you know, shout out to Mark Cuban as well on that one. So do you think Fort Worth should get a team?
A basketball team, no. A football team, possibly. But I don't necessarily think we need one. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys are the #1 team in all of the NFL in terms of value, in terms of merchandise. Like, honestly, like up to a certain extent, like I don't think that there should even be another Texas football team. I love the Houston Texans, don't get me wrong, and I'm glad Houston has a team, but I mean, ain't nobody fucking with that star, baby. You know what I'm saying? That there's just no way around it. Jerry's World runs the game down here in Texas. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is. I mean, point blank period. There's a reason why we're America's team.
Oh, yeah. I mean, any part of the United States you go, you'll see them blue jerseys.
Bro, we move merchandise like nobody's business. We are the New York Yankees of the NFL. You know what I'm saying? And then the Dallas Cowboys of the MLB. You know what I'm saying? So it's just what it is. Like, there's a certain level of prestige. I saw an article that Jerry Jones said the other day. He's like, I could sell the team right now for $10 billion. He doesn't want to, obviously, right? I don't see no reason why Fort Worth being 30 minutes away, or really not even 30 minutes away because the stadium's in Arlington, being 15 minutes away in the same area code 817 for us to have a team, at least a football team. It'd be cool for like our purpose, right?
Yeah.
Like for the homies in the city and for all the people in the city. We would love to have a squad, but like, man, I would never wish that upon anybody, man. You know what I'm saying? Like I saw the mayor was like, yo, we could use another Dallas team. I'm like, for what?
Yeah, I heard that. It was like was it a rumor or?
No, he said that. He was like, yo, he said that. I was like, why? Why do we need another team? I mean, I get it. It does a lot for the economy, but man, we got the breadwinners, baby. We got the Dallas Cowboys. It doesn't matter if we win or lose. We selling 90,000 tickets every time we play.
I guess the reason why Dallas is saying that is because the Cowboys aren't in downtown Dallas.
That's true.
You know what I mean? So I guess they're missing that revenue.
You're right about that.
Because think about it. If the Cowboys would have been in Dallas, you know, back in the day they were talking about the Cotton Bowl. They were supposed to renovate that whole area out there in East Dallas.
Yeah.
You know, they probably would have done
the first stadium was in Irving. And then the first stadium was in Irving, and then they got the Star in Frisco.
Yeah.
So it's like, was the Dallas Cowboys ever really in Dallas? You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? But I mean, at the end of the day, it don't even matter. The Cowboys, whether they're in Arlington or not, you know, like the city of Dallas still benefits immensely from the Cowboys being in the Metroplex. You know, the fact that they have the pro shops, they have, you know, the merchandise, just their presence alone in the city brings a lot of you know, light to the city. And I feel that we also attract a lot of tourism because of it. You know, people travel from all across the world to come and watch games. You know, that I don't know that since the stadium's been open and the Cowboys have been playing that we haven't sold out a game. Imagine, bro, you know, they charge $70 for parking or whatever outrageous amount of money they charge for parking, like, and however many car slots. I mean, just do the math. These guys are making a lot of money off of this team that hasn't really won anything significant since, you know, 95, 96, you know, like
Eggman days.
Yeah, man, since Barry Switzer was the coach, you know, so you know, but I mean, I don't feel that we need another team, but hey, TBD, right?
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll keep our eyes peeled, you know what I mean?
Hey, man, let's go Mavericks. That's all I'm gonna say, man. Luka, bring it home, baby.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Hopefully we celebrate another championship here pretty soon, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. We need it, man. We need that culture. We need that culture in the city, man. You know, we're the city of winners out here, man.
Hell yeah, let's get it, Mavs. Let's get it, man. Get the city crunk, man. So, man, I was debating about touching on this subject, you know what I mean? So just recently there was that mass shooting over there in Buffalo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was crazy, bro. Did you get to see the footage?
No, I didn't watch the footage, and quite frankly, like, you know, I don't know much about it. I got a little bit of the gist of what went on. Obviously, it looks like it appears that it was racially motivated.
Oh yeah.
Now, part of the reason why I didn't keep up with it is not to be insensitive. Obviously, my condolences to all the families that were affected by the tragedy, all the lives that were lost. But I try not to see stuff like that because, you know, anytime you see stuff like that, it could be really disheartening, discouraging, especially like with my kids being so young, my kids are 12, 11, 7, about to be 8, and to know that we're growing up in a world that, I mean, they're not growing up in this world. I mean, the world's always kind of been like that, but like to see it, to be broadcasted, like it's disturbing. And sometimes I just want to not see that stuff, but that doesn't defeat the purpose that it exists. So I did kind of see a little bit about it, but I don't know enough about it to like really speak from an educated perspective. I saw a graphic today of
So I guess Homeboy has a little brief history with I guess
racism,
him doing a lot of I guess how can you
finger banging on the internet.
yeah, if you want to call it it, or some type of terrorist or racial internet thug, if you want to put it.
I saw a photo today of a graphic, whether or not it was real or not, was actually a photo of his room. I don't know if you saw that. It was like supposedly they released a photo of the room that this kid lived in, or this person lived in, and it was pretty, pretty like racially, like obvious, like the guy was racist. But I don't know if it's real or not, but.
So apparently he did a stakeout prior to that. I guess it was Friday. There was a witness that actually he said he had a conversation with Homeboy, and dude said he seemed like an intelligent individual, because they were touching on different subjects. He said he looked at him and he's like, man, this dude don't. He seemed out of place.
Yeah.
So he approached him, started talking to him. Just dude got curious. Because, I guess it's like us being in the Mexican neighborhood. Somebody comes in, they're going to stand out like a sore thumb, especially if they don't belong or from that area. And that's how this individual looked. He looked at a place. They approached him, talked to him. After talking to him, they were like, he didn't seem like he was a threat. But little did he know that just 24 hours later, he was going to come back and shoot up the joint. I mean, that was crazy. I know a couple people that seen the actual footage. He said as soon as they seen him shoot a kid, they're like, man, this is crazy, man. And I was like, that's just wicked. I seen the only clip that I seen is he actually pulls up to the store and he's trying to find a parking spot. Then it almost seems like he just says, fuck it. And he goes right to the front. And dude gets off. And as soon as he's getting off, he has his rifle in his hand. And I was like, damn. And that's when the video cuts off.
Yeah.
So in a way, I'm glad that that's all I got to see.
Yeah. I mean, even that, like, even
because
that.
you see that person, and you can see that person kind of like stopping their tracks as soon as she sees that gun, bro.
Yeah.
And that's when the video cuts off, and I'm like, man, must be terrifying.
I mean, I've been in situations where I've seen guns, being drawn out, in public places, and it's always really uncomfortable when I see it. I never feel comfortable around it at all. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing cool about it at all. But I will say that it speaks to the bigger problem at hand, which is obviously a few different things. We put ourselves in the position of those people that were affected by it. It could be any of us at any time. We can go and I've been really, really big on this as of late. Like, as human beings, we have the tendency to be arrogant and we always assume that we have time. The truth is, time isn't promised, and unfortunately, like, from one day to the next, from 1 minute to the next, it could happen. And unfortunately, it happened in that instance. But I think the bigger problem at hand is, we talk about open firearm laws where people are able to carry firearms, and even if they are able to do it legally or illegally, they still have access to it.
Yeah.
And I've always been really sensitive to that because I feel that that's a problem. I feel that there's also, mental health issues that need to be addressed and need to be really kind of talked about more openly. And people like that clearly have no intent to live. You go back a few years ago whenever the shooting is in Dallas where they killed the police officers from the roofs and the rifles and the snipers. Like, those people had no regard for human life. And not only because they took other people's lives away, but they didn't have an intent to live. And so you think of the root of the issues, and You know, those root of the issues could be rooted from their upbringings. They could be rooted from bullying. It could be rooted from, you know, just not being psychologically checked, and people suffering from a disorder, a disease, a mental disease that, you know, people may not even be able to articulate. And I think when we really dig into that, and if we're more open as a society and as a public, and we identify these problems and identify these things early on, a lot of these things could be prevented. You know, I was listening to an interview from Andre 3000, and he was talking about, like, it's really interesting that in the 60s and 70s, our parents and our, you know, grandparents, they didn't have a label for what it is that they were going through, right? They said it's just over the last 10 to 20 years that you've been able to start putting labels on them, like mental health or social anxiety. And as things like that start developing, and we're starting to see patterns of behavior, and people like this kid or this person that went off and did this, and other hate crimes that are, you know, the same exact thing, right? Because it's sensitive whenever it becomes, you know, a race thing. But the truth is, there's hate crimes every day of all races. And whether it's, you know, initiated or driven by racism or not, there's still a disconnect. And whatever that disconnect is, I think as a society and as human beings, we need to do a better job of really identifying that before it gets to that point.
Oh yeah.
That's my opinion.
I mean, there are signs. If somebody is suffering from some type of mental illness, you know, they said there are signs out there. We're too busy doing our own lives that
Exactly.
we don't worry about our next of kin or your neighbor or coworker. We don't know what could be going on
Correct.
in their mind. They
I
might
agree with
be
you.
mentally unstable, you know. And I think ever since COVID, a lot of that stuff has been surfacing up more and more.
Absolutely.
You know, a lot of people that might not suffer from anxiety, but now suffer from anxiety because of COVID.
Yeah, bro. I mean, if all else, like, there was no way that you could come out of that time, and we're really not out of that time, but that time of being secluded, you know, being made to believe. Because I mean, imagine how it felt. Like, bro, this was new to the world. You know, we're being told that, like, hey, if you go outside and you touch somebody or you're within 6 feet of somebody, you could die. Like it sounds like a movie.
Yeah, of
It
course.
sounds like a movie. It's like, wow. It's like, and then you start think, nah, there's no way. This is propaganda, whatever. And then you start seeing it unfold, and then slowly and gradually, people that we know start catching it. Slowly and gradually, people that we know are passing because of it. Slowly and gradually, it's like, well, shit. Do I even want to go out anymore?
Yeah.
Like, we were conditioned for months to not even leave our house. So we become, you know, introverted now because we don't feel comfortable touching the doorknob at a restaurant or opening the door anywhere because we're afraid we're gonna catch COVID. You know what I mean? Like, it was, people were so, and not by any fault of their own, but they became so extreme with it. You know, they would go grocery shopping, and then they would get Lysol. They would wear gloves. They'd get Lysol and then wipe down their groceries. like if somehow or another it was going to prevent them getting sick.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's unfortunate, but you're right. I think mental health in general and the effects of this pandemic amplified everything times 10. So it's a result of people going stir crazy, being in a room, staring at the same four walls all fucking day, feeling like they cannot interact with other human beings. Our whole life, we've been conditioned from the time we were born to the time that we got older. Even the people that aren't quote unquote social, right? Like, we go to school, we're around people. We go and work, we're around people. That's the way that we interact. You know what I'm saying? We go out to eat, we interact with people, and now all of a sudden you can't interact with people. It makes people go like, "What the fuck am I gonna do?" So there is a sense of like losing some form of sanity there, and I some people are gonna handle it different than others. You know?
I mean, some people are mentally strong, and some people ain't. I mean, that's how the way it is.
But that's what I said, with identifying it
Yeah.
and understanding it and acting on it, because
Getting to the root of the problem.
at the end of the day, I know people that suffer from some form of illness, and it's not a comfortable conversation to have, but I've also felt guilty by not acting on it sooner, and then seeing it dissolve, seeing it deteriorate, and then it's like, well, shit, I could have changed that. And I feel like as a society, we need to be able to do more of that before it gets to another shooting and another mass violence. Because the problem is that these things, once they happen once, they make the headlines. Some other person that's suffering from a similar,
Yeah.
situation or similarly like unstable.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want to do that now. I want to be the next one to make the headlines, and now I'm gonna shoot up a school,
Yeah.
and it gets closer and closer to home.
Well, I know just this past week. So you had the shooting in Buffalo. That was on what was it, Saturday. And then on Sunday, as they were reporting on the news, they were reporting of another mass shooting that happened at a church in LA, out there in California.
Exactly.
I was like, wow, dude. And then there was even one here in Dallas, bro. Um, this dude walks in to a Asian beauty salon and took out 4 people.
Yeah.
I'm like, so
And what sucks is that when you hear of these hate crimes and these acts of violence, like I understand we want to kind of turn a blind eye, but I saw somebody tweet this out and it resonates. It's like
mhm,
we're talking more about Will Smith slapping Chris Rock than we are talking about these violences and how we're gonna get better about correcting these type of situations. And of course, nothing can be fully prevented because people are still gonna be people, and you can only you know like enforce certain type of laws to prevent these situations, but we have to be more aware, and
mhm.
we have to have our radars on at all time. Like it's no different than we were taught how to look left, look right whenever we cross the street. We should be able to look left, right when we see somebody showing a pattern of behavior, and it's unpredictable. There's no way to predict it, but I feel that that's what I would kind of advise in these type of situations.
Yeah. So, mental health awareness, is important. And every now and then, tell your neighbor, tell your coworker, your family members, hey, how you doing? You doing all right? Everything going good? Because you never know what could be going inside of that mind. So, you know what I mean? So, hell yeah, mental health is important to everybody in the community because, we're all together in this.
Yeah, for sure.
Something happens and it affects everybody in the community, especially, a tragic crime like that. So, this hopefully we could cause some type of awareness to mental health and we could figure this out soon, man. Because we can have more casualties out there, innocent victims suffering instead of actually doing something about it. So, hey, yeah, that's crazy, man. So, Smooth Vega, man.
Yeah.
Smooth Vega, man. So, let's start off in the early years, bro. Um, Give us, I guess, a little background as far as your fams.
Man, look, man, there's so many ways that I could say this, but I'm gonna say it the easiest, fastest possible way because I've given this story before.
Mm,
People ask me where it started at, and I could sit here and tell you what started here, but the truth is, I think I was born into music, and the truth is that not only did my mom own an independent record shop from the time that I was born, so literally I was born into music, but my
yeah.
parents actually met at a concert because my uncles were a regionally signed band by the name Los Rebeldes Rítmicos. I didn't really speak on that much, because it was before my time.
Mm,
But they gigged everywhere, and my dad was a roadie for them for a while, and he met my mom at a show, and that's how it all happened. And so I say going into my mom owning a video store and an independent record shop, she sold music
mm,
and she ran in movies and she sold Spanish music. And the name of the shop was Centro Popular. It was right there in North Fort Worth, in the heart of the stockyards. I grew up around it. I saw her hustling. Music was just a part of my life from the time that I was born to as I grew older. My brother exposed me to hip hop at a very early age, and so as far back as my memory remembers, I like pro wrestling and I like music, and I like hip hop music specifically. My earliest memories were of Vanilla Ice and MC Hammer, eventually Ghetto Boys, and then transitioned to Dre, Snoop, Easy E,
mm,
eventually Tupac and Bone Thugs and Harmony. And back in the day, you used to have the box, so you used to watch the music videos
yeah.
on there, and I just fell in love with hip hop, bro. And then from that point forward, fifth grade came around. I was 10 years old. I remember going to school, and the first song that I learned front to back was Too Short. I'm a player, And Too Short was the first rapper that I heard that kind of made me believe that I could do it. Not because Too Short sucked, but he was just an entry level rapper. You know what I'm saying? He was very easy to digest, very easy to emulate, and he was just a swagger rapper. He just had swag. So I just started kind of like figuring this style of like, okay, this is what I want to do. I started kind of falling in love with it, but it wasn't until I got to middle school I started writing, and No Limit was starting to really pop off, and Master P was like the thing right there around 97,
Yeah.
98. And over the summer of 7th to 8th grade, I wrote all the songs. I rewrote all the No Limit songs that I had access to. I took it to school, and I was getting in trouble, man. I got expelled in 7th grade. I was in the process of getting expelled in 8th grade, and my friend Stephanie got a hold of my folder with some of my songs. She took them, and by the end of the school day, she had handed it to one of the coaches. The coach handed it to the security guard, and the security guard said, "That kid raps." She goes, she pulled me to the side and said that her cousin owned the studio. She said, "If I talk to the principal, and if you could commit to staying out of trouble for the next 6 weeks, I'll take you to the recording studio." And that's where it started. And I always give her credit, Miss Rayvon Walker. I ran into her son probably about a year or two ago for the first time, really ever. And she's aware of what I've done. I haven't seen her in years, but she kind of opened up the opportunity to be in a recording studio at 13. And I mean, look, I wasn't ready. I didn't record, but going to a recording studio in October of 1998 as a 13-year-old kid made me feel and made me believe that I could do this. Because I knew at that age, nobody at my age was doing that. And so I went, the session went horrible. And then I told everybody after that, like, yeah, I'm about to, make a CD. And I was telling everybody at school. And I ran with that shit for about a year or two. But I would always hold hope to this idea that I was going to go back to the studio. But I got a job in 2000 with my brother at Jack in the Box. And I met another producer in the drive-thru. And long story short, bro, I ended up going to the studio in 2000.
Yeah.
I formed a group. I went back to the original studio, and I started recording music, and then that was it. And the journey began. That's where it all started. But, when you really go into detail, man, look, I started as a recording artist. I was a rapper first. And sometimes I look back at those days, and I'm not, like, embarrassed of those days, but, like, because I've become so much more than a rapper now. I've taken on so many different roles. People fail to realize that it started from that. That's the origin. And I wasn't a rapper that may have been as naturally skilled as some of my counterparts early on, but I was always accomplished. I was always a strong promoter early on. I won Best Rap Artist Award in the Fort Worth Weekly Awards, which at the time was a big deal to me because I didn't know I didn't know anything about it, but I won Best Rap Artist in 2006, 2007, and 2015 3 times. I was inducted into the Fort Worth Music Hall of Fame in 2019, not because of my history as a promoter, because of my history as a rapper. You know what I'm saying? I work with a lot of artists.
And did you always go by Smooth Vega?
Always.
Where did the name come from?
Man, the name is the most corny, cliche name that I've ever come up with. In middle school, we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have text messages. And we didn't have MySpace or social media.
Yeah.
So we used to write love letters. And the letters used to travel. So whenever I got expelled in 7th grade, I was writing letters to all these girls that I was cool with. And everybody had a nickname whenever they signed off. So I created a whole separate persona because I had went to another school, and I never wanted to give the other school a chance. I was the only Mexican at the other school, and everybody there like wanted to embrace me because I looked different.
Yeah.
They wanted to embrace me because I looked cool, because I was dressed urban. Nobody there was dressed urban. They thought I was gangster.
Yeah.
I was wearing red head to toe. They're like, this guy's a blood.
Yeah.
Like, red's my favorite color. I didn't know what to tell you guys. You know what I mean? At the time. And I just wasn't happy there because I missed home. I grew up in my neighborhood, and I wanted to be with my people in my neighborhood. And I created this persona, Smooth, because I told the girls that I would write letters to because I didn't want them to know that I was not happy. I told him, man, I got all these girls all over me, man. I'm a smooth operator. You know that song? I'm a smooth
Yeah,
operator.
operator.
Yeah, like, so I created this whole persona that I was a ladies' man.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went by Smooth. And then as I got to 8th grade and I actually went to the studio, I started adding $sign MOTH exclamation point. That's how I would sign my name off. I started getting my gear embroidered, my shirts airbrushed with Smooth on it. And the internet, the formation of the internet, AOL started kind of becoming more and more prevalent. So I started being more exposed to more people and more places across the world through the internet. And I started seeing Smooth was a really common name. So when we went to go record in 2000, me and the squad that I was working with, I said, yo, man, we need to really like come up with unique names. Because it was me and a group of guys that started off together. And that was around the time like all the Italian movies were popping off. You know, like fucking everybody was obsessed with Scarface, even though like Scarface had been around.
Yeah.
And like everybody wanted to do the whole, like MTV Cribs was like, yo, check out my house. Fucking Scarface is on the wall.
Yeah.
So I said, you know what? I want to add something to our name. It was me, my boy Jose, and somebody else. I was like, yo, I want to add something to our names. What should we go with by? And my homeboy, who was a black dude by the name of Leroy, he went by Ace Uno. So man, his name's cool as fuck. Yo, what can I do? I said, I'm Smooth. And I started going to the dictionary. And I kept on trying to find something. And finally I came across Vega in the dictionary, which everybody thought was my fucking last name, but it's not my last name.
Yeah.
I went in the dictionary, it says Vega, the brightest star in the constellation. I said, Smooth Vega, Smooth Vega, Smooth Vega, Bubba Sparks, Petey Pablo. At the time, everybody had first, last. I said,
Yeah.
that's my name, Smooth Vega. And I said, the brightest star in the constellation, I felt I was the brightest star. And so that's why I came up with a name. I had no reason beyond that. And I hated it. I've hated that name since 2002. But in 2002, I got my website. And I started branding myself as Smooth Vega, and I said, "That's it. I'm running with it." And I stuck to it, and I never changed my name. As much as I hate my name, I stuck to my name. So that's how the name came about, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that's dope. That's dope. That was interesting. You know, I've always wondered, like, it's like I wonder where the name originally came from, but
That's what it was. It was me thinking I was a ladies' man, and me wanting to add on something so nobody else can copy it. And to this day, I've never seen or heard anybody else with the name.
So what was the name of
Smooth
the
Vega.
group that you used to
So
run
the
with?
first group was called. We formed a crew when we recorded the first song, and we were going by M2K, which I don't even know what the fuck that stood for.
Yeah.
I wanted to. I think in 8th grade, I wanted to name my group Menace, and then 2K was around because it was the year 2000. That was around the time that became like the thing. And then we did one song. We recorded my first song in December of 2000. It was called Destiny. And then in 2001, we formed another group, and the name of the group was called Sons of Defiance. And then we did 4 songs together. And then by the time that we were finishing that 4th song, I realized like I'm the youngest one in the group. I'm making all the calls. I'm setting up all the studio sessions. I'm coming up with all the money. I'm the one working the hardest. What am I doing? You know what I'm saying? These guys don't respect me. Or at least I didn't feel they respected me. I had a relationship with 1 or 2 other guys, but for the most part, I knew those guys didn't want it. You know what I'm saying? I hate to say it that way. And I mean, I was proven right. None of them went on to pursue music respectfully. And I said, I'm going to go by myself. And I went on my own, and then I dropped my first CD, like kind of CD, called The World Ain't Ready. And here's the thing, man. I think looking back, it probably bothered me that I worked the hardest, but I got the least amount of respect. Not only from my group members, but the people in school. Like, I wasn't going to school, so the guys would get all the praise.
Oh, okay.
And then and then some of them were better at the time, to be honest with you. But I was the one setting everything up. So that was the name of the group. You know what I'm saying? And then I said after that, I went like 2002 on out. It was me. And it really is always, it's been me since then. Like I never signed to a label, never had a crew. It's always been just me, you know?
Yeah. Kind of just riding solo.
Man, I prefer it that way. And the cool thing is, like, you know, I grew up in Diamond Hill, so Immortal Soldiers from the same exact neighborhood that I'm from. So, like, they were already a thing whenever we were coming in.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it was really cool to be able to have a group represented. Of course, at the beginning, nobody likes each other because we're just young kids and we're wanting to compete. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it was really cool to know that we can identify like, hey, in this like little space that we live in the neighborhood, you have representation. And at the time, you know what I'm saying, like we had never had that. You know, prior to Immortal Soldiers coming along, we had never had representation. Eventually, I come along, we had never had representation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then you started seeing a few people circulate, but that was the kind of the beginning of it. You know?
Yeah. No doubt, man. So how did you get into? How did you do the transition from music to promoting?
I was always a self promoter. You know what I'm saying? Like I think as soon as I launched my website in 2002,
Mm-hmm.
I immediately, started finding ways to promote. And then my mom bought me a computer, and during the Christmas of 2002. And I remember that changed my life. And I remember when she bought me the computer, I cried like a little baby. But because I knew that she had given me a tool that I so desperately needed. Around 2001 or so, 2001.
Yeah.
I had went to Rent a Center and we got a computer, and Rent a Center taxes the shit out of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we had got a computer and we had internet for about like 2 weeks. And I got on that motherfucker and I was just blown the fuck away. And I remember being on there and kind of being exposed to the World Wide Web. You know what I'm saying? To being exposed to this whole new world that honestly I couldn't grasp my mind around it, but I knew eventually I wanted to enter this world and I wanted to promote on here. I didn't even know it was called promoting. I certainly didn't know it was going to eventually be called social media marketing.
Mm.
And so whenever my mom bought me the computer, because they fucking repoed the fucking computer like within 2 weeks. Whenever my mom bought me the computer, I immediately just started setting up accounts on all these social media sites at the time. Mi Gente, Si Pixel, whatever, Yahoo Messenger. There was a lot of website forums like the Chameleonaire Forum, and I just started promoting my website. And a good friend of ours, his name's Donnie, who passed away last year to COVID. Donnie did my initial website,
Mm.
and we had set up a guest book on my website, and then slowly and gradually I just started, promoting. Eventually it transitioned into MySpace, and I was getting a lot of popularity, which caused a lot of guys in the city not to like me, because the initial thing that everybody was saying, oh, he's just an internet rapper. Like now it's cool to be a fucking internet rapper, but back then, you were picked on for using the internet. Like if you weren't hustling in the streets, you weren't real. But like I found this more effective way of promoting and branding, which obviously has benefited immensely now in 2022.
So you must have seen the same thing Soulja Boy Scene.
I mean, but it was even before. But like I don't want to sound like a visionary.
No, yeah.
But I saw the vision. And so whenever I started noticing that I gained popularity online and my website was fucking booming, I had all these girls uploading their photos on my guest book. People were visiting my website like that shit was tender, looking at the girls like, God damn. And it was cool. It was cool for me. So whenever I won the award for the Fort Worth Weekly Award in 2006, I had shot a video right before that, and my one of our friends had started promoting in the club business, and I asked her if we could do a video shoot, if she can give me the club. She's like, yeah, I can get us a 50-50 deal at this club on a Thursday. I said, cool, let's do it. And then we did it, and then we ended up drawing a good amount of people there. And me and her, so it was 50-50 with the club, but me and her split 50-50, so I really got 25%.
Mm.
I didn't care, though. And I had made some money there, and I had made a little bit of money on the side. Prior to that, I had got paid as an artist. I started getting show money, if you want to call it that. But I wasn't getting booked for any meaningful shows. So by the time we get to 2007, there's so many things that happened in between. But long story short, I got booked for a show. And the show that I got booked for, I charged the promoter $250 because that was what I had made from my first self-promoted show, or whatever you want to call it, even though I teamed up or whatever. And he asked me how much would I charge. I said $250. By the time that show was done, I had did all the flyers, all the promotion. I had spread the word, and he drew 700 people at like $15. And he only paid me $250, and he paid the other performer $250. And I was like, yo, what the fuck? I did more than all these guys. So I said, you know what? I'm going to charge $500 now because I know that I did twice as much as everybody. So a nightclub locally went and started trying to promote a teen night off of my post on MySpace. They failed miserably within the first 2 or 3 weeks of them doing it. So I reached out to them. I said, hey, what up, man? If you want to do a teen night, holler at me, because it was an all-age show that we had did. Holler at me. I know the sauce. Let's do it. He was like, shit, how much would you charge me? I said, $500. And the guy said, oh, man, I can't do that. And then he proceeded to make me an offer. I took the offer. It was the worst fucking offer I could ever take, but I just wanted to prove myself. I ended up doing the show in August of 2007, my bad. And I started my company, my first company, which was Total Pandemonium. And I drew 650 kids there, and I made $3,000. And that was it. Because, you know what it is. When you're on the road, backpacking CDs, going city to city, hearing more no's than yes, trying to convince people to spend $10 with you when they don't fucking know who you are.
Yeah.
That was discouraging. But, most teams, like Immortal Soldiers had a squad of people. They had 10 people selling CDs for them. You know what I'm saying? Mexodus had 3 or 4 people selling CDs with them. A lot of these guys had crews selling CDs with them. I had me. So I'm going to Amarillo, I'm going to Austin, I'm going to San Antonio, I'm going to Phoenix, Northwest Highway, I'm going to Grand Prairie, I'm going wherever, and I may have only pressed 2,000 CDs. But I worked hard to sell the CDs I sold, but I knew this isn't really what I want to do. And there has to be a more effective way of doing this. Not to take anything away from the people that put in that work, because to be honest with you, some people that, man, like Renaissance and Immortal Soldiers, they busted their fucking ass.
Oh, yeah.
Like, their grind was unmatched. But I could never do that. And I didn't want to do that. You know what I mean? Like I did it because it was just like, damn, that's grueling. I remember the most successful weekend I had in selling CDs was in Amarillo. I think we made like $900 after expenses. I came home with $750. I felt like I was accomplished. So imagine me busting my ass, putting in a 12-hour shift over the course of a weekend in the city. That honestly, bro, we would go into dangerous territories. We go into other people's neighborhoods in the middle of the night, backpacking CDs, running up on strangers. Man, come on, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We're putting ourselves at risk every single night in cities that, bro, we could have been abducted and nobody would have known, right? But I go from that to doing my first event, and I generate $3,000 in one day. Say less. And I'm 22 years old at the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was 22 because I'm only 37 now. I started really young. So now you add the fact that I'm young, I'm making $3,000 a night. Shit, let's run it back. Came back 3 months later, did it again. I negotiated a better deal. I made $12,000 that night. And it was a fucking wrap from that point. Because at that point, I'm like, shit, I know Love What DSR is doing. I know they're not making $12,000 a night. I know Playing Skills ain't making $12,000 a night. I'm still looking at all the guys around here.
Yeah.
Granted, they're getting paid for shows. I wasn't getting paid for shows, but I still felt accomplished. You know what I'm saying? I felt like, man, I'm making some real fucking money now, and I ain't got to go hustle CDs 12 to 12 to make $400.
Yeah.
And take a $5 CD or $3 just to make my lunch or my food or whatever. Like, I was able to make some real money. So that's how it really happened. But once I started having success, I started booking artists. The first artist I booked was Frankie J. I had success. I mean, there was some road bumps along the way, and I did it till about the end of 2009. Started booking artists, started doing shows, and then my mom passed. And when my mom passed, I stopped everything. And then I would do it in bits and pieces, but I didn't get like all the way in until about 2015. And then in 2015, I formed my company, and then I made it public in 2016. And then that's when I started like routing national tours. But I had established so many relationships as a rapper. I had established so many relationships with so many artists early on that people always recognized my name, and they kind of had a sense of what I did and what I was doing, that it made the conversations a lot easier to have, where it wasn't a cold call inquiry, where it wasn't somebody that they didn't know. Now they're like, oh, we've seen this name, or we know who this is. So they were more inclined to do shows for me. But there was like a long process in between there, because when my mom passed, I didn't have any work history. So I went to go get a job, or I tried to get a job. Nobody wanted to hire me because I had no work history.
Yeah. What year was that?
Shit, that was 2010.
2010.
And the only person that wanted to hire me was at a Wingstop in my neighborhood, or that was willing to hire me was at a Wingstop in my neighborhood. And she told me, which is a good friend of mine, her name is Gardenia, she told me, I don't think it's a good idea if I hire you. Too many people know you in the neighborhood. Because, I was already like fairly known in the hood and in the city even. You know what I'm saying? She's like, if you work here, it's going to bring attention. As a friend, I don't think you should work here. So I didn't take the job. I told her to hire my brother, and she hired my brother. And so I started doing events again. And then, my daughter had been born, and then 3 months later, 4 months later, we found out we're having our son. So I was like, fuck, I really got to get a job. And then my boy, he ended up hiring me at Metro PCS, and I had him put me at the furthest he could put me at, which he put me in Cap Wisdom and Grand Prairie. So I wasn't seeing as many people that, from the neighborhood.
Yeah, that knew you. Yeah.
But I was there for about a year and a half, and I realized real quick that I was underpaid. And I went and eventually got a real job, and like not a real job, but I went and I got a job, increased my pay, and then I did that for a few years. And towards the tail end of that, man, that journey was grueling, man. It was like, I was daydreaming about music the whole entire time. I was just daydreaming of moves, and I started doing shows little by little, and I eventually put out another album. And during all this time, bro, I'm still doing shit. Even though I had a day job, I was still on K104 winning, fucking Street Swag Sunday. My song got retired, won 4 weeks in a row. Did 97.9 The Beat. I was on World Star. I was doing all this shit during this time that I'm working a job, but I couldn't apply myself full time to it. Mm-hmm. So I was like, if I was just to apply myself full time to this, I could go hard. And eventually, that's whenever I started the company. And when I started doing shows, I was like, man, I don't want to do this shit no more. I don't want to work for nobody no more. There's no disrespect to these people, man. They afforded me a great opportunity, but there's nothing more for me to do here. Because, these people, they have a ceiling for you. I don't believe in that. So, I just started gaining confidence and off to the fucking races. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I was on the cover of the newspaper the whole entire time I was working for a fucking, this company. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that was around that time. And then what's funny is that whenever I did get in position to where I started hiring people when I was at T-Mobile, because I was a store manager over there, one of the first people I hired was Gardenia because she needed a job. And I was able to bring her in, you know what I'm saying? Because I remember whenever I needed a chance, she was willing to give it to me. So I made sure to pull her in when I could.
Yeah.
So that was kind of that story,
Mm-hmm. So what would you, I guess, since you do have a lot of background in the music scene, I guess what would you, these upcoming artists or that young kid that seen all this social media, wants to get out there, what would be that advice you would give to that youngster?
There's no right or wrong answer to this, right? Because I don't believe in necessarily right or wrong. I do believe there's ethical and non-ethical. Like, of course, if I go outside and I shoot somebody, that shit's just wrong.
Yeah.
Right? But life is based off perspective, right? So it's no different with music. It's all based on interpretation. It's based on your opinion. You might view it a certain way. I might view it another way. Mm-hmm. There's going to be people that are going to give you all kinds of advice. And a lot of people will be like, well, man, it's all about the music. It's all about creating hits. It's all about hits, right? Some people will preach that till their face is blue. And though there's truth to it, there's also another part of it. What's your goal? What does success mean to you? How do you define success? Because it doesn't matter what I tell you to do. Mm. If you view success a certain way and I view it a different way, it doesn't matter what I tell you. You view it a whole different way. You might think it's defined by money. You might think it's defined by analytics. You might think it's defined by your views and how popping your Instagram is. You might not even care about the hit. But for the record, if we're focusing on the hit, let's just say you get the hit. Let's just say you get that big record that eludes every single artist that comes along. And you get that one record. If there's no depth to you, what good is that record? Because we could look at case studies. For example, I mentioned Vanilla Ice earlier in this interview. Mm. He was one of the first introductions to rap music to me. He arguably has one of the biggest hit records of all time. He could still make money off that record, whether it be through commercials or him performing it. He's still performing to this day off that record, and he's selling out shows off that record.
Still eating
off that record because it was a hit record. One of the biggest hit records of all time, right? But there's never been one person in the history of music, respectfully, that I know that said, I want to be like Vanilla Ice. I wanted to be like Vanilla Ice. He's the reason why I got in the game. He's not, he lacks the thing that I feel that most artists overlook, which is impact. We just got done talking about Kendrick Lamar, right? Kendrick Lamar is not going to have one song on that album that's going to be a #1 hit on Billboard or a #1 hit on radio. Not in my opinion, not on that album. But guess what? The world stopped whenever he dropped that album because he has impact. Think about artists like Tupac. You know, how many #1 hit records did he really have, right? He had some strong records, maybe California Love, right? But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. He had impact. You look at Eminem. Eminem didn't really have #1 hit records. What, maybe the record with Rihanna? Maybe, you know, I don't know how many other records outside of that you could say were a #1 radio hit record. But he has impact. Impact to me means so much more than the hits. The music is going to come, of course, study your craft, work on your craft.
That one single, the one hit wonder.
Correct, because think about it. When you focus so much on that, you lose sight of the important shit, in my opinion, which is having layers to you as an artist, having depth. What story are you trying to tell? How far are you letting people in? How are you connecting with the public? How are you resonating with the people, right? You listen to an Eminem album, whether or not you like his music or not. Yo, he's killing his baby mama on there. It's not for me. You know, he's talking about his daughter and he's talking shit about his mom. I can't relate to that. But the one thing that he did is he allowed you in. And so you felt connected to this artist because he was vulnerable. He had layers. That shit's relatable. You know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, the more unfortunate the situations that you go through in life, the better the music. You know what I'm saying? Tupac wrote Dear Mama. You could hear that music from the pit of his stomach, from the depths of his soul. He wasn't a lyrical, miracle, technical rapper. He didn't need to be. He was a poet with passion. He allowed you to come in. He gave you layers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He gave you depth. As an artist, do you want to be an artist that's going to have a long career? Or do you just want to be an artist that has a moment? Because there's a lot of artists that have moments. We can go through a Rolodex of those guys, not only locally, but nationally. There's so many artists that have come and gone. But why have they come and gone? Because they focused on the hit. They focused on the moment. And that's all they want. And some people are content with that because success that might be success to them.
That's probably what defines success in their eyes.
But you think about the guys that last. You think about the J. Coles. Think about the Kendrick Lamars. Think about the Tupacs, the Eminems, the Jay-Z's, the Nas's, right? Like those guys that are held to a high standard. Those guys have depth. There's so many layers to them as an artist. Whether the layer is you telling your story from rags to riches, you telling your story from, a broken home, you telling your story of, your insecurities or whatever the case may be. What are those layers? What does that look like?
Yeah.
To me, that is the one piece of advice that I would give any artist. Like, identify who you are, but try to have as many layers to you as possible if you're trying to be a long-term, true to the roots, like, I want to have a legacy artist. Because the artists that go on a tour 10, 15, 20 years down the line are artists that have depth. The guys that have a hit, don't get me wrong, you still see them, but you know what it is, man. You know what I'm saying? You know what it is.
Yeah, of course. To me, every artist that has an artist that's a story. You might not relate to that story, but it gives you, just like you said, he opens up and you get to see what's inside. Just kind of like a movie. Not all the time when you see a movie you can relate to it.
Yeah.
You can't expect to relate to every single movie because you didn't live that. You know what I mean? A lot of people always hear them bash on Eminem. It's like, well, I can't relate about talking shit about my mom, taking pills, or doing this, doing that. You know what I mean? You're not supposed to relate, but you can hear his story.
Yeah, it's his story.
Exactly.
But because you can't relate doesn't mean millions can't. So it might not be for you.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be for you. But the idea that there's only one way of doing this is the most inaccurate way of thinking, because that's not logical thinking. You said it right now. Every artist has a story. I don't believe that, actually. I think most artists don't have enough of a story. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's too many artists that come in the game and they chase the look, they chase the hit, they chase the record, they chase the views, they chase all this to the point that they're willing to manipulate numbers for that. And for what? You do all that and you have nothing in order to fall back on. You have no depth. You have nothing. And that's why you see so many guys come in and go. They literally leave as fast as they come in. And I'm a firm believer that you leave the way you come in. If you came in fast, you're going to leave fast. But because you're driving so fast, I used the analogy the other day. I said, man, it doesn't matter if you drive 200 miles per hour. If you don't know your end goal and your destination is, eventually you're going to run out of gas.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm not one of those guys that like understands the concept of, like, to me, I'm managing an artist right now. I had a conversation with her yesterday, and it was strictly about impact. We went to do career day at my elementary school that I went to school at, and we went to a high school, and she was telling me how the last show that she did, and she was also telling me about the career day yesterday, how she had some little girls go up to her and tell her that they want to be just like her when they grow up, and she was like moved by it. And I don't know that she's had enough moments like that, but I said, you see that? That's impact. You know, that's saying that's making music and doing stuff with the purpose now. Because now you might not feel like you have an audience. You might not feel like your audience is big enough. You might feel the pressures of having to live up to this social status of being an online celebrity with 10,000 followers or whatever the fuck you think that looks like. But when you see these little young kids that don't have enough faces that look like them, that don't have enough voices that represent them, right? You see them, that one girl turns into two, that two girl turns into four, that four turns into eight, eight turns into 16, 16 turns into 32, 32 turns into 64, and you get the point.
Yeah.
And now you're not doing it for you anymore. You're doing it for the little young kid that has no voice. And now you become the voice of the voiceless for those people, right? I feel like there's however many billion people in the world. I've always been a firm believer that 10% of the world will like what you do. You have to find who that 10% is. So if 1 million people hear your record, 100,000 people are going to like your records. Find who the 100,000 people are, right? But understand that when you move with the purpose, man, there's nothing that could stop you. Find your purpose. Understand who you are as an artist. Really, really dig into the character development of building yourself as an artist, right? The music can come. Skill can be developed. You can hire a producer. You can bring in songwriters. You can mold a sound. But none of that matters if you have no depth.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't care about the stanky leg now. That was a hit, right? We could make a lot of arguments. There's a lot of hits over the course of time that don't stand the test of time because there was no depth. And that's the argument I make with when I see artists and artistry and new artists that are coming in. Like, look, man, the best way I could sum it up, bro, we were talking about the NBA earlier. And we were talking about how the times have changed. The game was a lot more physical in our era. It may be more athletic now. You got these young kids shooting from half court, and it's normal now.
Yeah.
Like, it's normal. Like, these guys like Steph Curry could shoot from anywhere on the court and make threes at will. It wasn't like that back in the day. Back in the day, man, whether or not people say, man, you know, the game back then was a lot different. You know, it was a bunch of Uber drivers and cab drivers that were playing ball. That's not true, man. These guys were physical. They were there. The bad boy Pistons were there to knock your fucking head off. You know what I'm saying? You knew that if you didn't come out with scars and bruises, you didn't earn the W. You know what I'm saying? But like, the same way that you look at these guys shooting threes from half court, the game has gotten younger. The game has gotten more athletic, right? These guys have different, you know, now you see the score 150 points in a night. You guys see these guys scoring 40 points at will. It used to mean something to score 40. Now everybody's scoring 40.
Yeah.
Right? But it's the same thing with music. These young kids are coming in the game. They're moving faster. They're putting more points on the board than ever before. There's guys that have one song that have 20,000 followers, right? They're shooting threes from half court. They're making points in ways that guys like the older generation didn't have that. You know what I'm saying? Like, we had to be physical. We had to, you know what I'm saying, go in there with the Bad Boy Pistons and backpack CDs and go city to city.
Yeah, hit somebody in somebody's face.
Yeah.
Hey, look at me, look at me.
You know what I'm saying? We had to be in front of you. You know what I'm saying? Where the game now, like, you sneeze on them, like I said, you get ejected. You know what I'm saying? It's different. The rap game is different. The music game is different. The music, not even game, I hate the term game, but it's different now. And it's a lot more accessible now. It's a lot more easier now. And the game has changed, but like as it's evolved, you know what I'm saying? The mentality has yet to fully evolve because there's so many people that live in this era. And I'm not one of those people, even though I'm talking about the differences between generations, right? Because everything's generational. The differences between then and now, you know, in my opinion at least, right? Varies. It varies in a number of ways. But when you think about it, as different as it is now to then, or then to now, people tend to live in this bubble of who I was then, what I did then, as if it matters now. Bro, what I did in 2007, 2008, though I'm proud of it and I should be, I don't even feel comfortable talking about now. I would go to meetings, you know, after 2018, and I'd stick my chest out, almost like a fucking script. Like, yeah, you know, I own a company called Premier Live Experience, and I routed tours for Dave East, Jordan Lucas, Nipsey Hussle, and I would name all the artists that I've worked with. And I was proud of it. And then I realized the more I said it, the less people gave a shit. Because that was then. This is now. Right? And people only care about what you're doing now. And unfortunately, that's just what it is. You could have a history.
Well, that's true.
You know what I'm saying? You could have a history. But let's be honest. We had a conversation off the record about history. The history means nothing now, unfortunately. And these young kids that are coming in, they're trying to pave their lane. They're trying to pave their way. And we're seeing them create that. And the more that they create that, the more we become distant. Unless we inject ourselves in a new form, in a new way, and we pivot. And we have to find new ways to pivot. We have to find new ways to mentor this talent and not tell them, you're doing it wrong, you're doing it wrong, you're doing it wrong. Nobody wants to hear that. You want to give people an area of opportunities and kind of give them opportunities and help them grow.
Coach them.
Yeah, for sure, man. And be that and understand that. You know what I'm saying? Don't be a know-it-all, man. Everybody wants to be a fucking know-it-all. Like, Facebook and social media has given everybody this fucking idea that they're experts.
Yeah.
And I don't get me wrong, bro. Look, I'm gonna say something really, really respectful, but very confidently. I play dumb a lot. I let people say what they say, feel what they feel, but when it comes to music psychology, real music psychology, if I could ever teach a course in the world, it would be that. The psyche of the music industry. I don't feel there's a lot of people that could touch me. In fact, I don't think there's anybody that could truly touch me in that realm. And it's proven in all the areas that I've done business in because I'm the only person that can do what I do in all the areas that I do them in. You know, they had this gatekeeper list, right? I was number 6. I'm the only brown boy on there.
Yeah.
The only Mexican. They put me number 6, and I made a joke to my boy Big D. I said, man, I'm top 5 dead or alive, baby. You know what I'm saying? And call it arrogance or whatever, because I was reading up on imposter syndrome. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with what imposter syndrome means, but imposter syndrome is real. And I feel like I can admit it now. Like, I feel like I suffered of it because really what it is in a nutshell is everybody views you as this person. They hold you to a high standard. They're seeing you as a highly accomplished person, but you don't see yourself that way. You see yourself as someone that I'm not doing enough. I need to do even more. That's crazy. And I've been that way for a long time where, like, you know, I've been a source of inspiration and motivation to my people in Fort Worth and to my community. And I didn't always feel that. They viewed me in a certain way. I didn't view myself the way they viewed me. And now I'm fully embracing, like, no, I'm that person. And that whole gatekeeper shit, like, I saw people making slick-ass comments about whether or not I deserved it or not. It doesn't matter. Look, I don't believe no list is going to define me even if. Certainly not a list that carries no weight and has no like financial, attached to it, right? But don't act as if you know me, because you know nothing about what I actually do. And the truth is, I know a lot more than I lead on, and I've proven and I continue to prove that day in and day out, which is why I'm in the position that I'm in now, and I continue to evolve where a lot of people don't,
Yeah.
you know?
To just stay stagnant, stuck in the mud.
They don't evolve, they don't pivot, they don't grow. People are stuck in this time in their life where they accomplished this a long time ago, and and they're experts because of it.
Yeah.
You may have been an expert in that time frame, but everything evolves.
So it's crazy you brought up the gatekeeper, because I was going to ask you that, because I usually everybody that comes in, that has a pass in the music, I ask them what do they think about the gatekeepers. You brought it up, so I'm more like, do you consider yourself a gatekeeper?
I don't necessarily consider myself a gatekeeper in regards to what I view a gatekeeper as, but it's all based on interpretation. I saw the list. I saw Dallas Global and Mogul Media that made the list. I appreciate that they took time to give me the head nod and say, hey, we see you working. We salute you, especially being the only Mexican on there.
Yeah.
By their definition of what they consider a gatekeeper, I check all the boxes and some. So when I tell you I'm top 5, that's not a joke. That's the truth. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I look at that specific list, if we're just talking about that specific list, rather than people going online and criticizing that list, they should take time to learn who some of those people are, because some of those people could be allies and assets and potential, people that can help in different areas that they might not even be aware of.
Yeah, instruments or tools to...
In different markets.
Yeah.
In different markets. There's people in San Antonio, there's people in Austin, there's people in Houston. You don't even know these people, and you're just going to shit on that list. But in regards to what I consider a gatekeeper, do I consider myself? I consider myself way more than a gatekeeper at this point. You know what I'm saying? But I guess to answer the question, yeah, I do. You know what I'm saying? I don't like the term gatekeeper. I don't, I'm not a fan of it, because it sounds like an authoritative position, and in most cases, like, the term gatekeeper has a way of, it has a negative stigma attached to it, because gatekeepers are usually attached to people that are like holding off, like,
Yeah.
you cannot enter unless you go through me.
Yeah.
And that's not how I operate. But I've been put in situations where I've had to be that way. I've been put in situations where there's been people that have booked an artist that I booked on the same show, and I shut their show down because of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not able to do that if you don't have the ability to do that. You know what I'm saying? I've been able to broker phone calls and set up deals that no one will ever know about, because I don't broadcast everything I do, with people way beyond the local level. You know what I'm saying? Case in point, recently I connected Joyner Lucas and Dave East's team to do a collaboration, and that whole entire conversation was made possible by me. There's been conversations that I've set up for many other people like that. And one thing about being someone in that position, because I'm sure there's plenty of other people. Shit, I know people that are like that don't always broadcast the plays that they do and the dots that they connect. I know people that don't broadcast that. But I'm not them and they're not me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's not my fault that you choose to be under the radar. If you choose to be under the radar, people don't know what they don't know, right? But in my case, there's been situations that I haven't gotten the credit for it. Shit, I've given and helped people's careers in ways that people will never know. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've launched careers, not only in music, but in other realms of the music. And I look at it from that perspective and I say, you know what? Yes, by definition, I'm that, but I've done a better job than most people broadcasting what they do. And people are visual. They go based off what they see. If they see me doing live events, if they see me managing an artist, if they see me having success with managing an artist, if they see me in the studio or, alongside these people, if they see me interviewing people and having a media platform and my show looking a certain quality and working with a certain tier of guest, then they're going to automatically know this guy's not to be fucked with. And here's the beauty of it. I'm independent. I'm doing this shit by myself. Self-funded, and I'm fucking Mexican.
Yeah.
Like, there's not enough Mexican representation doing this. And so I guess that kind of answers the question, you know what I'm saying? Because like I don't like to abuse the power that I have. But to be real with you, like I've gotten irritated by it because it's like, yo, man, we shouldn't like never define a gatekeeper by a list. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter if there's 15 people on there. There's way more than 15 gatekeepers, not only in Dallas Fort Worth, but in all of Texas. There's way more than that. Like, you know, there's so many people that have the ability to help you get to that next step. And rather than hating, you should take time to shake hands, network, and get to know those people because those people could probably help you and possibly change your situation. But do it in a respectful way. Do it in the right way, and you'll be surprised what can happen. I feel like I've always been accessible. I've always talked to people. Whether or not I fuck with them and I do work with them, those are two different worlds. But you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like I do so much for so many people and I wear so many different hats as an artist, as a promoter, as a producer, as a songwriter, as an agent, as a talent broker, you know what I'm saying? Like as a fucking social media manager, as a graphic designer and as a web designer. And I wear all these different hats and I'm involved in all these different situations for people to be for me not to get my credit. And whether or not people feel like I'm loud, the truth is I'm not loud enough. You know what I'm saying? I don't pound my chest enough. I really feel like I could be a lot worse. And it's almost like people respect that more. You know what I'm saying? Like it's weird that like they hate it, but then they respect it more. This is the weirdest thing. But like I don't really live in that bubble, bro. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
whether or not we talk about imposter syndrome, whether or not people view me that or not, or I say that I am or I'm not, I don't even think I'm halfway to where I'm gonna get to. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't feel I've made it yet, which is that imposter syndrome. You know what I'm saying? Like because the truth is, like in a lot of people's eyes, I already have. You know, I'm making a living off what I love, but you know,
You haven't reached your level of success.
I haven't reached what I want to reach.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I want to. There's so much more to do, and gatekeeper should not be defined by a platinum record, an award. It should not be, you know what I'm saying, defined by whether or not they got an artist signed or not, because you don't know what situations I've had my hand in. You mean to tell me if I get somebody signed tomorrow, now all of a sudden I'm a gatekeeper? That's stupid.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Nothing changed other than I got an artist signed. And you don't even know if I've already have or I ever haven't. You have no idea. It's because I haven't talked about it. So you mean to tell me a trophy's going to define whether or not I'm viewed as this or not? That's ridiculous. Nothing changed. The skill set is still there. You know what I'm saying? It should be impact. You should look at impact. You should look at, this is a guy that came from the absolute bottom of the motherfucking barrel. The person that nobody thought that could get far. The person that everybody doubted based off skill and said, man, this guy sucks. He's whack. He's not going to get far. And somehow or another, he's the one that somehow or another has made a name for himself. Somehow or another, this guy has gone on to go create a fucking career for himself, start a successful company, work with all these fucking artists, go to school, speak at career days, do toy drives. The guy that didn't graduate high school, the guy that fucking graduated homeschool, and he's the one talking to universities. I spoke to 191 TCU students last year about marketing. How the fuck am I not qualified? You know what I'm saying? So that answers the question.
So it goes back to what you were saying earlier. Impact.
Impact.
You're making an impact in the game. And I mean, it is what it is. If niggas want to hate out there, I mean, it is what it is.
Bro, man, look, I'll gladly put my resume next to most people, and I can almost assure you I will eat their shit up alive. And it's fucked up to talk like that because I don't want to be that way.
Yeah.
But I'm Luka Doncic, motherfucker. I'm gonna put fucking 50 on the board tonight. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We taking the ship. Everybody quick to talk tough when they up, but watch what we do. Nah, I'm just fucking with you.
Yeah.
Nah, I mean it's fun. Look, in all honesty, like I work really hard for a long time, and I don't always celebrate my own successes. And so I wanted to take this opportunity with your platform to speak on that and say, you know what? I'm proud of me. And that whole imposter syndrome, bro, I know who I am. And I know what I'm worth. And I know that there's still a lot more to be done. But, man, I've done it.
Yeah. I also wanted to touch on that. So you also have your own, what do you call it, a podcast? Or
It's a talk show. It's a podcast. It's a podcast. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
I mean, I try to do like a talk show format.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I have it. It's cool, man.
How long have you been doing that?
Officially since 2019.
So it was before COVID.
It was right before. Yeah, it was before COVID. I had wanted to start doing it probably as far back as 2017. But I wanted to produce it. I wanted to do what he was doing. You know, I wanted to be the one
Behind
producing the
scenes.
show, bringing in personalities and using my relationships to create a show, and just me executive producing it, eventually getting on the FM radio. And I couldn't find the personalities to do it with. And so I had initially experimented with Premiere Live TV in 2016. I actually have interviews on my YouTube channel that are archived of me having Nene the dancer and conduct interviews on my behalf. And we tried to do that for a while. I ultimately don't feel that that's what she was best suited for. But we tried it. And I thought it was cool that we tried it. And she got some great memories out of that. And we had some cool moments with that. But I was like, you know, I want to take this Premiere Live stuff and go a step further with it and do media with it. And the thing about it that I kind of realized early on was that I would bring these artists to town and then I would take them to the radio and we would do the interviews with the newspapers and then they would all take the interviews and then they would never credit me. Or they would never credit the company. They wouldn't talk about the show because we weren't running advertisements with them. So I just got tired of it, bro. I was like, man, fuck this. I don't want to give these guys these interviews. I'm paying these artists $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. In my opinion, that's a $20,000 interview. Why am I going to give it to 97.9 The Beat? They're not even giving me credit because I'm not running ads with them. Fuck that. It's my interview. They're going to do it for me. So I had to find a way to do it. And so in 2019, I said, you know what? I'm going to start my podcast. I bought the equipment to do it from home, and my idea originally was to just do phone-in interviews like the radio. So I was doing a bunch of phone-in interviews. I did like probably about 15, 16 episodes. And then I said, you know what? Podcasting, it's its own craft. You have to be dedicated. You have to be willing to be on a schedule. And I just started kind of going, man, I'm getting burned out. I didn't want to do Fishbowl. I didn't want to do any of that shit. I wanted to do it my way. And probably towards the end of the year, my buddy hits me up, First Eye Media, Kyle Molecular. He goes, hey, man, I see you got the podcast. You want to bring it to video? I said, man, I did not want to be on camera. He said, man, I got this idea. We could do like a picture-in-picture. They could FaceTime. And I was like, let me think about it. A couple weeks later, I had an artist come in town. Genuine was coming in town. I had booked him. And ironically, he was my first episode I had ever did on the phone. I said, hey, bro, you remember you wanted to do the video podcast? He's like, yeah. I go, how about we do a step further? How about let me bring him in the studio and we do an interview? He's like, all right. So we did it. And I didn't want to do it by myself, so I had a co-host.
Yeah.
Man, we're walking this motherfucker. This fool had 8 cameras in this bitch. 8 different camera angles, fully produced, just all the way, like, decked the fuck out. And we did an hour and 20-minute interview with him. And as soon as the interview was done, really not even as soon as the interview was done, midway through the interview, I'm like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to continue to do this as much as I can. And then the next week, I had Life Jennings in town. Well, I didn't have him in town. I happened to get in contact with him. I brought him in. I said, hey, can he come and do an interview? He did an interview. And then I did another interview. Before you know it, I had like 4 interviews in the span of a couple of weeks. And I was like, yo, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And then COVID hit. And then I had to slow down and I started doing interviews, like virtual interviews. But man, dude, like I honestly have found a huge passion for it. And if I stop doing events, if I stop doing music, if one day I just go cold turkey, which, by the way, I've never felt that way and I never want to feel that way, I'm going to be like, yo, I'm going all the way in with content creation. I'm going to go do interviews full time. And I mean, you've seen a few of the interviews as of recent go viral. You know what I'm saying? The Bun B join.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, that's the one I watched just recently was the Bun B one.
Yeah.
That was dope.
Yeah, and the cool thing is, like, you would think watching the interview, me and him are fucking friends. The way we're talking to each other, the way we're interacting. And I've worked with him for 4 years, 5 years. But believe it or not, that's probably I've interviewed him twice. That was the third time I've interviewed him right there. But that was the first time I interviewed him in person on camera. And it just felt like a chemistry.
Yeah.
And it felt like he felt comfortable to say some of the things he said. And I was just appreciative of it. But I feel like that's a lot of the conversations I have with people because I want to get bits and pieces out of interviews that nobody else can get. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
like me talking about his wife and the importance of balancing a professional and personal, career, or a professional and personal balance of your life and your career. That's important for any artist to hear. That's not even an artist. That's important for any person to hear. And so, yeah, man. I mean, I'm proud of it, and I want to continue to do it, man. I appreciate you taking time to watch it, man. I mean, that's something that I've grown extremely passionate about. So whenever people like yourself hit me up for an interview, like, man, it's hard for me to say no to anybody because
Yeah.
I know the grind that goes into producing content. Like, it is very time consuming, but it's also very rewarding. And we talk about mental health. Man, bro, if I did not have interviews during the pandemic, I would have went batshit crazy. But I had the opportunity to interview so many people over the pandemic, and I got an opportunity to have conversations with some of my rap idols, like, guys from Bone Thugs and Harmony, Jay Prince, and having those conversations were just like really, really fulfilling for me.
Yeah.
Getting an opportunity to interview Selena's brother, Selena's husband, Chris Perez. Those are moments that, like, honestly, man, like, you look back at, early in my career, you know what I'm saying? Like, that shit's dope, bro.
Yeah. So you actually worked on a song with Chris, correct?
Yeah. So Chris played guitar on a record for the artist that I managed. I managed an artist by the name of XB Valentine. I started working with her last year. I signed her.
Okay.
And we had a record that, she had laid out, and I thought it was dope, but I just felt like it was missing something. And part of the reason I love working with her is because I'm still able to tap into my artist mode and still kind of go into production and keep me close to
Create.
the music. And so now I'm just paying it forward and using my expertise and applying it to her music. And she's still even though she's been doing it for a while, she's still developing. She's still maturing. So, like, I still find that passion in the artist development aspect of A&R in her music. And I said, man, you know what? I think we can add something at the end of this record. And I said, let me send it to somebody. And I sent it to Chris. I asked Chris, hey, man, do you mind playing a guitar riff on here? He said, yeah, let's do it. And I thought it was so cool, man, because, being Mexican, how much Selena means to our people. And I can maybe count on one or two fingers how many females he's worked with since Selena's passed, at least Mexican Americans, you know what I mean? And her being one of them, and her being independent, and her being attached to me, it just meant a lot to me. And it wasn't, he didn't ask for nothing out of it. He just did it. And I was just honored that he would take the time to do it. So it was really cool, man.
Yeah, that was dope, man. So the artist that you got up and coming right now is how far are they on into their project?
So she came to me with a fucking library full of music. I underestimated her. I thought she had a lower ceiling in terms of her progression. And I realized pretty quick she had a way higher ceiling. And I think initially the goal was just to come out and pump out as many singles as possible. I had so many relationships in the music game, so I was able to leverage all of those. And a lot of those were done strictly for streaming purposes, just to kind of create, a workflow, kind of get her numbers going. We wanted to increase her social media presence. We wanted to increase her streaming presence, and we were able to do that successfully. And so her numbers just jumped. They skyrocketed. I was able to get her on the record with Bone Thugs and Harmony. She was the first Mexican female to ever do a song with the group, like the whole group. I have a record with her and with her and Paul Wall, with her and Westside Boogie, with her and Baby Bash. Her record with Baby Bash went fucking nuts. So I mean, really, we have the record with her and Chris. I paired her up with a bunch of people just for the sake of streaming numbers, right? And at the same time, kind of find herself. And in the process of her finding herself, started kind of establishing reach. Getting an audience to come in. And as we started seeing those things happen, we have enough music to put out a project right now. But I feel I'd rather kind of do what we're doing right now. I feel really good about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I feel like she's still developing. Like I had on the way over here, I was listening to the demos. I probably have about 7 or 8 demos on my phone that we haven't released. And I just want her to kind of be really selective of what we put out, because when we talk about the layers and the impact, you know, she's an LGBT artist, she's gay.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Her being an openly gay female artist that's Latina, that's a Mexican. I say, man, you're a triple minority, girl. You know, you're a female, you're Mexican, and you're gay. You have the world in front of you, and you can tackle all those worlds because they're all there ready for you.
Mm-hmm.
She's playing Dallas Pride on June 4th, and that's really cool because they usually have about 6,000 or 7,000 people that attend that event, and she's one of the main performers. But I feel she still has a lot more of a story to tell,
Mm-hmm.
and I think as that develops and as that gets created, then we'll get closer to that project. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
I don't want her to just have the big record. I mean, if you want to be technical, her record with Bash outstreamed. I mean, she was one of the highest independent streamed Latinas in all of 2021 off of a minimal catalog.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we know what we're capable of doing at that point. And, you know, if you want to, you know, define the streaming numbers as a way of like kind of detecting what it can be, because, you know, you got to remember, I didn't pay for any of these records. These people did favors for me.
Mm-hmm.
These people I have real relationships with. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we're basing it off of the trajectory, man, you know what I'm saying? Her conversion numbers are high.
Yeah.
That's a really strong indicator that if we have a big budget and a label behind it and some real big promotional muscle, this could go really, really far. But before we get to that point, let's play it smart. Let's figure out who you are. You know, when I met her, she was probably 80 pounds heavier than she is now. She's lost all this weight. That's a story to tell. You know, you came out as a lesbian, you know, or a gay, my bad, if that's the proper term, in 2018, 2019, that's a story to tell. You know what I'm saying? Whether you want to touch on traumas of your life or not, that's a story to tell. Give them layers, let them in, create that impact. And I think once we get to that point and I feel comfortable, that's when the project will come out. You know what I'm saying? Because we've had extensive conversations, and I don't want to speak on her behalf in terms of her coming out process, but I know it wasn't an easy process. And you got to think, man, there's millions of people that encounter that, and she could be the voice for those people. And that's what we need to find to convey and channel through the music, channel through her message, and eventually build her as a character before we're like, let's go. You know, and when I say character, just so we're clear, you know, a lot of people talk about, you know, 50 Cent, right? You know, 50 Cent had the bulletproof vest on the cover of Get Rich or Die Trying. That's 50 Cent. You know what I'm saying? When he's at home, he ain't wearing the bulletproof vest because he's Curtis Jackson.
Yeah.
You know, that's the character. You know, it's something that, you know, you turn into. You know what I'm saying?
Alter ego kind of.
Hey, man, Clark Kent, Superman. You know what I'm saying? So before she slapped your cape on, let's make sure what your superpower is going to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So where can people find her music?
Just look her up on Spotify, XB Valentine. That's one word. Look her up on Spotify. Look her up on Instagram. Look her up on TikTok. She's still, man, she's definitely grown already. A lot. You know what I'm saying? Like right now, she peaked at about 125,000 monthly listeners, but right now she's sitting at about 31,000. That's what she's averaging on Spotify. She has 3 records that are over 300,000 streams, and these are all records that have been out for less than a year. And I think the one with Bash is probably over 400,000 now on Spotify, and probably over 1 million across all streaming platforms. And the cool thing is, like I said, man, this has all been done pretty early on in her progression, you know, as far as working with me. And so right now we're just at that phase, we're in that point because everything moves so fast when we started working. Like she's become a stronger performer. She's already been on a tour with Westside Boogie. I was able to put her on her tour pretty early on. And so now we just got to find the next step. And the next logical step for me is really building that true foundation of who you are to start really thinking legacy. Before we go sign a deal blindfolded and we go, okay, you know what, let's go with this label. Because, you know, I have access to labels. You know what I'm saying? I do work with labels. You know what I'm saying? Like, before we take that step, let's make sure who you are and what you're going to represent when you get to that point. Because whether or not you want to represent Latinas, whether or not you want to represent the LGBT community, whether or not you want to represent females, you look in the mirror, you're all of that. You were going to represent that.
Yeah.
So understand that responsibility on your shoulders. Understand the area of opportunity that you have for being that voice and really tap into that. You know,
Yeah.
I look at and I parallel so much to professional wrestling.
Mm.
They always say the most successful pro wrestlers are the ones that are themselves with the volume turned all the way up. Like Stone Cold Steve Austin wasn't a gimmick. The Rock wasn't a gimmick. That's really them with the volume turned all the way
Yeah.
up. So if you're an artist, I think a lot of ways you have to kind of tap into that and with the volume all the way turned up. If you're gonna be Mexican, you better be all the way fucking Mexican. If you're gonna be, LGBT, be all the way LGBT. If you're gonna be a female, be all the way female, and do not hesitate to be that, be unapologetic, but do it with purpose.
Yeah.
That's what I feel. So
Make an impact.
impact, baby.
Yeah, yeah. So you got the big show coming up.
My man, thank you for mentioning that.
So who do you got in the lineup besides? So I know it's 666.
Yeah. So August 6th, man, Central Popular is going to be the second annual event. I did the first one last year. Last year we had King G, we had Bash, we had Frankie, we had Twista. It was super dope, man. I was super excited to do it. Coming out of the pandemic, or still being in the pandemic, it was a little scary. But this year, man, I said, man, we're going to increase the budget time, so we're going to run it back. I got 3-6 Mafia. I was able to get Camille here to commit to doing the event. He doesn't do a lot of events, and I was really excited for him to commit to it. My boy Cap G, who I work really closely with, he's part of the event. And then also I have Flawless Real Talk, who actually was the runner-up on the Netflix series Rhythm and Flow.
Mm-hmm.
GT Gars is on the show. Then I got a few guys from the area, Juice Leroy, Damon Rogers, and the best show in town being part of the event as far as from the area. I wanted to make sure that we highlight talent from the city. And these guys are really strong representatives. And I think we're doing a competition in about a week, and the winner is going to be able to be featured on the show as well. So, yeah, I mean, this is just the second installment. Of course, the goal is to continue to do it. I mentioned that I named the event after my mom's record shop.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some legacy and some roots there that's a lot more meaningful to me. I'm actually holding the event on August 6th, which happens to be her birthday.
Oh, wow.
But I think that I don't want to get caught in this, I have to. Because I don't have to do anything. None of us have to do anything. And so I say that because the goal is to continue to do it annually. But to be honest with you, there's no rules to this. I can do it when I want, where I want, however I want.
Yeah.
So as long as this event goes great, the hope is to do it again the following year and the following year and the following year.
Yeah.
But, even if I do it once every 2 years, I'm good with that because I know what I'm doing it for. I know the purpose behind it.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about it, man. August 6th, make sure to get your tickets, centralpopular.com.
There you go. August 6th, man, is going down. 666 Mafia. Man, make sure you get y'all tickets. I guess where can they get the tickets in case they weren't paying attention?
Centralpopular.com. That's Centro Popular. That's CENTRO Popular, POPULAR.com. Get your tickets now, man. We're doing good. You know what I'm saying? We're about 700 tickets sold right now, so we still got a ways to go. But the goal is to have anywhere from 2,000 to 2,500 people there. 3,000 people is really what I would like to see.
Yeah.
So I'm excited, man. I'm excited, and I encourage everybody to come and support the event for various reasons. It's in Fort Worth. It's at Wild Acre Live, but above all, you have an independent Latino promoter that's putting this event together, a 6-figure event. I'm not doing it with any corporate help. Believe me, if I could get sponsors, God, I would love to have them. But as of right now, it's just me, and it's stressful, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, it takes a toll on you, but it's a very rewarding feeling to know that I came, and I conquered. I visualized it. I believed I could do it, and I did it. You know what I'm saying? And I encourage everybody, man. There's so many creatives in our city, so many Latinos that work really hard to get every little ounce of recognition that they can get. I'm no different. You know what I'm saying? This is how I eat. This is how I feed my family, and this means a lot to me.
Yeah.
So anybody that's watching, if you're a supporter of me, you're a supporter of the show, just take time at the very least to consider going, and hopefully you take the leap and the chance to go out there.
Yeah, man. Most definitely is going down. Fort Worth, man, in the house, man. So do you got any shout outs you want to give out, man?
Man, shout out to you, bro. I mean, you know what I'm saying? shout out to you guys, man. I appreciate y'all letting me fucking blab on. Like I told you, man, I'm a fucking chatterbox.
Yeah.
If y'all don't tell me to stop, man, I'm gonna keep on talking. But no, man, shout out to everybody in the city. Shout out to Fort Worth. Shout out to Dominic, man. Shout out to all the performers that are gonna be part of the event on August 6th. To everybody that's purchased a ticket, man. Obviously, I want to give a big shout out to First Time Media, the team that helps me, my boy Chico, Music and Focus, and everybody else, man. Everybody else that you're gonna be interviewing, man. A salute to you, man. My man Accomplice is gonna be on the show here in a couple of days, so I'm excited about that. And just keep grinding, man. Keep hustling, man. You got my support for real.
Hey, man, appreciate it, man. Appreciate it a lot, man. And like I said, thank you again for stopping by and showing us some love. Bringing Funky Town to Dallas, man.
All day, man.
Hell yeah. Got that Funky Town Dallas connection, man. Hell yeah. So there you go, man. Smooth Vega, man.
Let's get it.
Thank you, sir, for blessing us with your presence.
I appreciate
and most definitely August 6th is going down, so make sure you get your tickets. 666 Mafia will be in the house, Chameleonaire, Project Pat, and many more, man. So make sure to go catch your tickets and show some love, man. Show some support, some local talent. You know what I mean? Are you gonna have some local talent in the show as well?
Yeah. Like I said, Damon Rogers, best show in town.
Okay.
We got Juice Leroy. So I'm excited about those guys, man. It's gonna be dope.
Hey, yeah, most definitely, man. And man, thanks again. Thanks for everybody tuning in, watching, man, showing that support, man. Make sure y'all share it, man, because it's gonna be a hot one. You know what I mean? So, like I said, thanks again for coming by, and keep your ears to the streets. And I'll catch you on the block. It's your boy Money Elms. Welcome to Elm Street. Peace.
Let's get it.